Junior? It's you, Junior. Junior, you did it. And who's gonna come to save you, Junior?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Junior Gaming. I am your host. Some call me the poor man's Indiana Jones. Others, the poor man's Josh Gates. A whole lot more people call me the Wish.com version of an actual Twitch streamer. I, ladies and gentlemen, am Junior. So good to have you guys here. We are ready for yet another Junior's Book Club so that we can all get together and enjoy the wonders of Dungeon Crawler Carl. For those who haven't gotten it, you can get the book. I will be posting a link to get to where you can order the book from Amazon, or you can check it out on Audible. And yes, they are doing a free 30-day trial, and I highly recommend you take advantage of it. It is the best way to take in Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is such a great book to have as an audiobook. It was actually one of my first audiobooks that I really enjoyed, and I can't recommend it enough because the voice acting is just amazing. And with me, I have the one, the only Monkeybro. How's it going, my friend?
Oh, it's going well. It's going well. How are you?
Oh, I am doing just wonderful. We are getting started with Chapter 11 in Dungeon Crawler Carl. Now, Chapter 11 is something special. I love the fact that the very first words are, "It blew when it hit the ground." And that's because Chapter 10, the final thing that he says is, "I prayed it wouldn't blow when it hit the ground." And this is where we really get to start seeing what this is going to be, you know? Like our first boss battle. And they go against the Hoarder, which is like this poor Hispanic lady.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
She seems frightened based on like what they have her saying and things like that. And like I don't speak Spanish, so I don't actually know what she says. And I meant to pull it up and find out, but I totally forgot. So I have no clue what she was saying the entire time. All I know is she sounded frightened as hell. And they go through this battle. The Hoarder lives in like a garbage dump, right? And it is like the quintessential, you're watching the show Hoarders, basically, because everything in this book is basically a parody. They're like, how can we parody this properly? And they just make it work. And I think they did a really good job with it. That's 100% true. They like just did such a wonderful job at saying, we're going to go all out and create this caricature of what so many of us have seen on TV. And I love what they did. I really do. So this lady, hey Junior, how's it going? It's going great.
In depth, like it's not an in-depth description, but it's enough description to give you the idea of.
Oh, definitely. They explain enough about what's going on to where you're like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this. But like especially when you're listening to the book, like as a voice actor, he just really pulls in the straight up fear that this poor lady seems to be feeling. And you feel terrible for her too, you know? Like you're listening to this going, "Oh my God, like what is happening?" So what it ends up being is this poor lady like battle is a caricature of a hoarder, and then Not only that, she lives in a garbage dump. Or really, I think they describe it more like a refuse bin, right? They're like, it's like a dumpster. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's how they went over it. And she ends up to where she's got these cockroaches coming out of her mouth, and they're skitterers. Is that the word that they use for them? I always
I
forget.
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where we really get the fact of the dungeon is making a show out of everything. So this booming voice comes up, and it sounds like a monster truck rally announcer. And it comes up and it's like, the Hoarder, level 7 neighborhood boss, trapped in her pile of rubbish, abandoned by society. The war inside her head has seeped out of her mind and infected both her body and her surroundings. Now, nothing
Yeah.
more than garbage troll, the Hoarder is a horrific reminder of what can happen to those who fall out of the light. Protected by her minions, she'll do anything to keep her precious stockpiles. And meanwhile, she is sitting there just like screaming and yelling in Spanish. And this is actually the first time that we see fear from Donut. Like,
Yeah.
Donut is typically calm and collected, and all of a sudden she's just like, I don't like this, Carl, get me out of here. Because when the Hoarder comes, it puts like metal bars in front of the door so that nobody can get out.
Basically, yeah. Basically, how a game boss fight is. You just get blocked in until you finish it or you die.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is a boss battle, you're gonna have to just kind of do your thing at this point. And she starts pounding this thing with magic missiles, because she got those magic missiles in the last few chapters, and now she's taking it out. But what I noticed was, I feel like they were focusing a bit too much on the minions. Did you notice that too? Like, as they're going through, it's like she keeps shooting at the minions, and it's like, you got to focus the boss.
Yeah.
Like, as an avid game player, I'm like,
exactly.
Why aren't you killing the boss? You're supposed to kill the boss. Quick,
Yeah.
kill the boss.
Well, it might also. I feel like it's like, since the skitters are cockroaches essentially, she probably dislikes cockroaches a lot. That's why she's going for them rather than the boss.
Yeah, that's true. Like, she does have a hatred towards certain things, which we'll bring up again later. But yeah, she ends up wasting a lot of magic missiles. They get into this huge fight. Carl actually tries something new. So he's been squashing things and punching things, and now he wraps his hand in a metal chain. He finds his chain attached to a dog's body, wraps it around his hand, and attacks.
Yeah, that was the most interesting part. I'm like, it's just around the dog's body, and you're just gonna swing it around.
And he like picks it up, and the dog's body just like lifts out. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? That's not cool. I wasn't ready for that. I think that's the important thing to put on.
That was exactly, that was not necessarily like, nobody was. I don't think anybody was ready for that kind of just thing to just pop up.
Definitely, because you're like, oh, okay, they're getting into a boss fight. Oh my god, they pulled a corpse of a dog with a chain wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's punching this lady in the face, and when he punches her in the face, he mentions that like feels like eggs surrounded in clay pots. And
I don't know why he knows what that feels like though.
I know that is a weird thing to use as a description, but as he's doing this, as he does this, like you're starting to notice that they seem like they can't get hurt very easily until they're like until it's the end. Once it's the end, it's like, okay, we're all done with this game. Have you noticed that yet? And I know he
You mean like the
mentioned it.
bosses? Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned it with some of the regular ones, but I don't think he ever mentioned it with like the other with anything larger. So like with the regular mobs, he was like, "Oh, once they're dead, they're very squishy." And all of a sudden this kill shot just felt squishy. So they beat this boss, they get their bronze boss crate, and they get announced as the winner. Like when they do this, it's like a fighting game. Mug shots pop up and all of that, and it's like the winner is the Royal Court of Donut. And after that, they go and try to find Mordecai, which obviously they do because they go to their safer to one of the guilds, and Mordecai is drunk. And this becomes the start. This becomes the start of something where like this was the first time we've seen that like he drinks a lot. And the reason that it seems like he drank a lot seems to be because of what happened with his mother's urn and his brother's picture. So I definitely think that like there seems to be some PTSD there about his family. And he goes on to explain all of the stuff about the different bosses, that there's different types of bosses.
Yeah.
There's neighborhood, borough, city, province, country, and floor bosses. And these bosses actually drop maps. So what the Hoarder dropped was a neighborhood map, and that opened up about a square mile for Carl and Donut to be able to see. Now, when they kill these bosses, maps aren't just they don't just give you go to the person who killed the boss, but like others can get it as well. And I feel like that's gonna come into play at some point where like they're gonna find maps from bosses other crawlers killed, right? I feel probably like it's gonna be that way. Yeah,
possibly on the lower levels.
Yeah, but I feel like they're setting it up. They wanted it to be known enough to specifically mention it.
Yeah.
They also found what a corpse of a crawler looks like on their map. It is it's an X that they found on the very edge of the neighborhood square. They want to go see it, but they wanted to talk to Mordecai first. Mordecai gives all the important information, and we're starting to. What I'm noticing with Mordecai is like you can tell he wants to give extra information.
Have you noticed that? He's like the person who would talk more. Yeah, he's ready to talk more, but he knows there are people watching him, so he doesn't.
Yeah, like he has to be careful not to, but at the same time, he really like tries to blur that line. He tries to go a little bit further. And I really respect that about him because, like, Mordecai has that understanding that, okay, this is not your choice.
No.
By the way, Tired, are you hearing everything okay? You can hear myself and Monkeybro. I just want to double check. So he's giving them the information that he can. They open their boxes, and once again, Donut is annoyed with her
All
torches
right.
and pet biscuits. And this is going to come
Yeah.
up later. This keeps coming up. And something that Carl specifically asks is the number of achievements that I've gotten normal. Like, am I getting more than is typical, or is this just the normal amount? And I love that he asks.
Yeah.
I love that he asks it, because I would be wondering the same thing too. I'd be like, okay, how do I stack up? What does this amount mean, right? Because you think about any
Yeah.
time you've played a video game, and your question is like, okay, how does this compare with
Exactly.
what everybody else is doing? I mean, just think about like World of Warcraft, right? The big question is constantly like, am I outplaying everybody else?
Exactly. Do I have the best stuff?
Yeah.
Am I going forward faster? Especially with these achievements, right? He's just he's gaining levels so quickly, and he's getting a lot of loot, and then he gets explained that this is normal at the lower
Yeah.
levels.
He's like, oh yeah, they just give you tons of loot, and like probably crushing poor Carl. He's like, I'm doing so well. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden he hears, yeah, this is a normal amount of loot. You shouldn't be that excited.
Yep.
And I mean, fair enough. You gotta keep him honest, right?
Exactly. Like
You don't want him
the
getting full
blunt
of himself.
honesty. Nope.
And frankly, Mordecai is good at the honesty. And once again, Donut is like just jumping ahead and getting things that like she's not reading. So Mordecai
Yeah.
keeps telling her, hey, you got to check what these things say first. And she gets pissed off about actually an awesome spell. It's constant light.
Yep.
She calls it a
Yeah.
stupid spell. And he's like, the spell's torch. It's a good spell. And it's going to keep getting stronger as it levels up. And I really like that about the mechanics of this, where you think like Dungeons and Dragons style, and in something like Dungeons and Dragons, you have to learn the next level, things like that. This is like not a level system in the true sense, where you don't have different level spells. You have spells that start gaining skill levels.
Exactly.
And I think that's pretty genius. I think that's slick as hell.
It's a very good way of people really focusing in on those spells and that particular type of attack or whatever is needed to increase the level.
Oh, exactly. And then they open up their stuff and their boxes, their loot boxes. And during this time, Carl gets Tome of Wisp Armor, so he's going to learn how to do Wisp Armor if he chooses to use it, but he can't learn it at the moment because it takes too much mana. And that's something that they learn throughout this, that you can't even learn it until you have the ability to cast it.
Exactly.
And he gets his spiked knee pads of the Shaded Null Riot Forces, and
All right, yeah, those knee pads.
and
I
the
forgot about
Scrolls
those.
of Confusing Fog, which is awesome, and his Potions of Iron Skin that they use later in these chapters. Now, the nice thing about the knee pads is it's got 10% damage reflection to all of his armor. So all of his armor that gets hit automatically pushes back 10% of that damage to whoever hit him. which
Yeah, that's like basically like in Minecraft, it's like the thorns achievement or the enchantment on armor.
yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. But again, like the way that things get described by the AI, the made of skin and fur, and the spiky things from the back of thorn cadavers, these knee pads are both good protection and they're stylish. Stylish, that is, if your knees are cosplaying as hedgehogs. And then with
It's
the
always that.
so many nerd references. I absolutely love it. And it's kind of like the wisp armor, a great spell to have if you're a club kid or trying to bane a vegan. Like, it's so quirky and I freaking love it. By the way, for those watching, Monkeybro does lose signal sometimes. He's actually driving home and joining us
I
from
got
there.
home. Yeah, I just got
Oh, he
home.
just got home. Awesome. So,
Yeah.
so they do all this, they open their stuff, and Carl keeps leveling up his punch and things like that. So he's getting stronger and stronger with his skills. Because now he's got Iron Punch, which he got from using the chain wrapped around his fist.
It's just a very good thing in my opinion. Like if he's a like he made up his way. Nobody told him to do that. He did that, and that actually benefited him more than
Oh,
anything
definitely.
else.
And I think like what we're starting to see here is Carl is doing things his way. And
Yep.
it's just happens to work out. You know, like there's no, oh, you've got to use the meta. At no point am I seeing him trying to meta this. He's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to survive. And that's what we're really starting to see here. What they do next is they go and find the corpse. And this is such a heartbreaking moment because this is when we realize that people are still crappy. Like people are still people, right? So they like, you have player killers. We're going through all of this with the world being destroyed, right? And then you have people who are like, well, I'm going to kill other players. Now, we'll learn more about this later, but like the second I read this, I was like, oh my God, like we can't have nice things. I don't know how else to put it. So we found out that they end up finding the dead body, and it was Rebecca W. killed by Frank Q. And it really shows something when it says, I felt as if I was slapped, killed by crawler Frank Q.
Yeah.
Like that realization that the dungeon's out to get me. Oh, and by the way, other people are going to be out to get me. And it's kind of heartbreaking. You really feel for the guy as he's like trying to survive, and it makes you feel like, what am I surviving for type of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a very sad moment in the book for me, at least.
That's the true reality hitting them off the dungeon.
Yeah, because now there's a crazy asshole with a gun. Which apparently asshole is Carl's favorite word. That's what I'm starting to notice here. Because like he's telling himself not to be an asshole, explaining that he's not an asshole. Everything comes back down to the word asshole. And what we end up finding out is we also learn about Donut's extreme hatred of any dogs. Because the first thing she says, and not just any dogs, not just any dogs, extreme hatred of Cocker Spaniels. Because she's decided that this lady who got shot must have gotten shot by a Cocker Spaniel. And then they go around talking about whether or not they're afraid of this guy and what they're going to do. And of course, Carl being Carl is like, I'm not afraid. And Donut being Donut is like, well, I'm not afraid either. And then Donut's like, no, actually, I really am afraid. Don't be like Charles Bronson in Death Wish. And she explains to Carl that she would always watch TV when B and he were gone.
Yeah.
And that finishes off that chapter. And we get into 14. And that's when they mentioned the premiere of Dungeon Crawler World Earth. And Dungeon Crawler World Earth is the show that they're on. This is the show that they're going to be part of. And apparently, there's like a 4D version of this that people can watch, not crawlers, but like viewers. And they get to be right there in the action and see things. But apparently, it can be unnerving. So a lot of the viewers watch it in 2D, but they can control camera angles and stuff and look at things from different angles. Which, like, I'm hearing this and I'm like, God, I wish we had that. That'd be really cool. Like, it just seems like it would be a good time, you know?
Indeed, it does. Because nowadays, all we see is through the eyes of the camera. We don't see it the way we want. We can't
Yeah,
adjust. We can't adjust.
exactly. And we hear about how many humans are left. So it was over 10 million when this all started. And by the time the first episode of this TV show starts, they're down to 4,006,002. And they also enjoy their food with Tally, who cooked them food previously.
All right. Tally, yeah.
Yep. They showed the information about the last season, the battle for the planet Errol, which was like a water planet.
Was it a water planet? I can't remember that. Sorry, I forgot that part.
Yeah, they had a like Roman Colosseum and multiple
Oh,
floors
right.
and a level
Yes.
filled entirely with water.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
then they
that was
ask
an
more
interesting
information.
situation.
They ask more information about like what happens when somebody wins. Is their family safe? Like what happens? And
Yep.
so, they were talking about the last game. So the last season, but apparently like the family is safe, but they're not safe. It's better to be dead. Squim saps the planet dry. It leaves the planet and moves on. No more atmosphere. People live after the big fight, but they don't live. Not really. Born at least gives people a chance. Tally's people had a chance. And so they automatically wondered, like, hey, Tally, were you a crawler? And he said no.
Yeah.
Apparently, when they destroy a planet, they don't always do a dungeon.
That I found interesting. So it's like they're basically seeding planets, and one planet is for dungeon, the other planet is for just humans or
Mm-hmm.
animals that work there.
Exactly. And like these dungeons, they get that. And they try to make themselves seem like the good guys, and that's something really interesting. So it very much reminds me of like very biased news channels, things like that. And what they basically do is they show every bad part about Earth, and they're like, they make it seem like they're doing a favor by destroying the Earth. Is kind of how they described it.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant of Matt Dinniman to do, because it was such, like, it's exactly what you would expect to see from it, you know? Like, they're trying to prove that this is not a bad thing. Now, something that really confuses me that I noticed in this part, like they talked about the 1,000+ people groups and like the guys with the AK-47s from Africa, and then
yeah.
they introduced Lucia Marr. My question is, have you noticed that only females seem to get their last name shown?
I have not.
Like the
I have
males,
not picked up on
like
that.
Frank W. and like, you don't typically hear anything about a last name, just a last initial for the most part.
Yeah.
I found that very interesting, and like it makes me wonder. So they go through this entire thing. They start off on the show showing dungeon crawlers getting their asses handed to them. And then they end the show by showing dungeon crawlers victorious. So they're like, oh, look at how much trouble they're having. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, now they're successful and it's all good. I thought that was interesting. That's actually a good way to do a show like that, right? You're like showing, it's like when you ask somebody, do you want the good or bad news first, right?
Yeah,
And,
exactly. They say that.
yeah. And then right after, oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I don't know.
Um,
I was jumping ahead a little bit, so I was waiting. So yeah, you're on the right track.
right after, Donut's all pissed off that they weren't on there, and she's like, this
Yeah,
is unacceptable.
exactly.
And then they bring up the stats and everything over a loudspeaker in the dungeon, where this voice comes on. It's the same woman who spoke when the gates first closed and explains how many bosses were killed and all of that. And she always gives updates. She gives patch notes basically, where they have to nerf stuff. And she's like, oh, by the way, here's what we nerfed this time around. And then she gives generalized announcements to all the crawlers, because that's important to do. Keep them informed, let them know what's going on. And they always end it by her saying, and remember, kill, kill, kill. And I don't know why, but I just chuckle every time I see that.
Well, to add to that, right after he gets an update on how many crawlers are actually alive in the dungeon.
Yes, that is correct. And like the very first thing that Donut says after that is, obviously we need to find one of these city bosses. That'll guarantee a feature on the next episode. It's like, damn it, Donut.
She's gung ho on finding and getting on that TV show.
Yeah. And he's like, no, we need to find an exit, because that's the most important part. So they need to find the next staircase. Now in 15, they start noticing that all of the hallways are very similar to each other, right? So Donut explains that we've been here before. This is where we came into the dungeon. And like he feels turned around, but then he's like, no, we should be. It seems to follow like the city on the surface. And I find that very interesting how it's explaining how this is following cities on the surface so far. And they end up finding another neon sign pointing to the tutorial guild. And Donut's like, there will be monsters in there. And they head over. And they go through they start using chat because chat just got figured out by them. And Donut has to do everything in caps lock. So she is constantly seeming like she's yelling. And I giggle every damn time. Now, this is where
It
it
suits
gets.
her personality, you know. Her
Oh,
just
it
yelling in
does.
caps is just like, okay, well, that's just Donut, you know.
It's Donut being Donut. Exactly. And they go through and they find goblins. And they talk to these goblins, and Donut has such a great charisma that she makes the goblins happy. And this is the first time
Junior, we should tell the audience why they can talk to the goblins.
they can talk because using. Or when did he get that?
He had a pass.
He got the
He had a
goblin
tattoo.
pass.
Exactly. He had a tattoo which made goblins not a hostile mob towards him
Yes.
anymore.
So now they're not hostile towards him. And this is where we get to take our first drink to God Damn It Donut. Because God damn it, Donut, I whispered.
Is that what we're drinking to now?
Mm-hmm.
You might.
It's
Well, I don't drink, so but you might, get a little bit overboard in 20 chapters. Just so you know, 11 to 20, and the amount of times he says it.
yeah. It's only if I see it though. I'll start marking it better for the future. But they end up talking to these goblin shamans, these lady shamans. And the only way to become that type of shaman is to fuck, cook, or eat your parents or a parent. And they're just talking to this thing. Donut's like, what's going on with your face? Because the goblin has like piercings and stuff everywhere. She's like, oh, no, honey. Don't do that. Just going straight into the like, oh, let me tell you how you should be. And the goblin, instead of like getting angry, sits down and starts listening intently. And I absolutely love that. And he starts befriending these goblins and named the goblins BA, Murdoch, and Face
Yeah, exactly.
after the A
Yeah.
team. Because why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dungeon. Of course, you would do it that way.
Of
And it's a
course.
donut too, naming them.
Yeah, I love how they're doing that, and they're just like they are leaning very heavily into the 80s stuff. And from what I think if I remember right, Carl's supposed to be 27 years old. And this was 2019, so I'm like, how the heck do you know all of this nostalgic stuff? Like Frogger and all of that. And then the A team. But they walk into the goblin lair. They're told, you may have a pass, but you're not welcome here. And Donut just befriends everyone. She's like, oh, you'll all love me. It's okay.
It's
They
the
see
charisma. She's finally putting it to use the way that it's supposed to be.
And it's her charisma is a 37 at this point. Absolutely
Which is
insane.
wild. For a cat, that is wild.
Oh yeah. And they meet a goblin bombard who they don't talk to, but like they're just like tossing all these bombs that Carl's been working with in the air like it's nothing.
Mhm.
And the Carl is like, I just want to buy a vehicle from you. Let me trade to you. Trade
Yes.
with you. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so I want you to help me. The goblin looked at me as if I just asked her to eat a Twinkie out of my ass. That is a hell of a description.
That is a
Like,
very
like
interesting description who thought
who
of it?
describes in that way?
Yeah.
And the goblin's just like, you stupid, ugly excuse for a monkey. Do you really think you can just? And then Donut's just like, okay, honey, and starts talking.
Chill.
They end up calming these goblins down. The goblins have decided, okay, we will trade with you. What do you have
Yeah.
to trade? And like an idiot, Carl's just like, well, I've got this stuff from a goblin box. Do you want this? And the goblin's like, that is the dumbest thing you could possibly offer me. Why
Yep.
would you waste my time?
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm on the goblin side on this one. Why are you
I
that
am too.
dumb?
What did he offer? Like what was it, like torches and stuff? Wasn't it at
Yeah.
first?
Well, no,
Yeah.
at first it was gunpowder.
Gunpowder, right? And
And
they're like, yeah,
the
we got
goblin's
whole
like,
loads of it, my guy.
yeah, exactly. And then finally, they go through all this stuff, and finally, Carl remembers and pulls out the meth that they got off of the llama.
Yeah.
And
The two baggies.
these goblins go nuts for it. They're like, where did you get this? They realize it was made in the dungeon after taking a lick of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll tell you if you make my bike and give me all of these explosives. Which great work on doing that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, fine, we'll do it. And
Yeah.
chapter 16, before I get to it, it's time for our challenge. Describing
Wait,
an item that you have as the dungeon AI. So I've got mine written out here.
I don't have mine written out, but I'll give it a shot.
And I'm going to take a sip of this before I start. Because what is it? New loot dropped. Jefferson's Ocean Age Sea Bourbon. Whatever sad bachelor pad you're currently crawling through, you pathetic little crawlers thought regular bourbon was enough? Oh no! Some marketing genius looked at a perfectly good barrel and said, you know what this needs? To be tossed around the goddamn ocean like a drunk sailor's regret for several years. This dark amber elixir spent its formative years getting violently churned by waves baked under equatorial sun and slapped around by salt air like it owed the sea money. The constant motion forced the whiskey to French kiss the wood barrel harder than a desperate incubus on the 9th floor.
Yes. That is a very beautiful description.
Oh, it's not done yet.
Oh.
Lawn, smooth, and coating notes of Cracker Jacks and existential regret. You'll sit there sipping it, nodding sagely, pretending you can taste the motion of the sea, while your brain cells file a noise complaint. Special properties: the briny buff, plus 5% chance of sounding sophisticated while day drinking. Motion sickness. Your future hangover will have traveled 5 continents and crossed the equator 4 times just to punch you in the skull. Achievement unlocked. I paid how much for this? Only $90. It's not that bad. Warning. Don't you dare mix this with Coke, you animal. This bourbon crossed the Atlantic. Show some goddamn respect. Or don't. I love watching you make terrible decisions. Enjoy responsibly, crawlers.
Beautiful.
That's what I got.
That is perfect. That is
Oh,
a
by
perfect
the
way of
way, with
describing.
that said, Jefferson's Ocean, if you want to sponsor me at all,
Sponsor.
you just let me know. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I actually have to take off now. All the people for
Oh,
my, I know, I am sorry. All the people for my meeting have showed up.
hey, that's
So,
all right. We will do
yeah,
16 through 25 next week then. Hopefully we
sounds
can get
good.
more people here. It's going to be a good
Yeah,
time. Make sure you all show up. I am looking forward to it. Thank you for joining me, my
of
good friend
course,
Monkeybro. And
of course.
I
You're
hope
welcome.
you have a great meeting and we will talk
Thank
to you
you.
later.
We'll see
Cheers,
you soon. Thank you.
everybody.
Talk to
We
you.
will raid out to a deserving individual.
Have a very good night, folks.
Thanks again, Monkeybro. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You're very welcome, man. We'll do it next time.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're heading to Orby Ladrew, so make sure you guys stick around. Give him some love. Thank you all for being part of this. I always appreciate it. You can always watch the recording of this episode